Hello everyone, Dice here, and today is going to be a simple rundown of unique melee situations in Cyberpunk Red. No fluff, just an explanation as if I'm sitting right by you at your table. If you're wanting a much more detailed breakdown, there are other videos out there. This is just to get you going. Now, what I mean with unique melee situations, I'm referring to times where you'll not be going for the basic melee weapon or brawling outright. Grabbing, martial arts special attacks, and situations around them are going to be what this is about. If you don't know how melee combat works in Cyberpunk Red, go back to that video here and it'll cover it quicker than I can just adding it onto this video. First things first, the thing everyone is able to use is grabbing. It's governed by the same setup as a normal melee attack with your dexterity stat, plus your brawling skill, plus a d10. Pull it off, and you can do one of two things. You can either grab them, forcing them to take a penalty of -2 to all of their actions, but you get this as well. Or you can take an object from their hands. This includes weapons, so if someone's being a problem, yoink the weapon. When you've got someone grabbed or grappled, to call it what it specifically is in the rules, who you have grappled cannot use their move action and are drugged with you as you do yours. They can't use any two-handed weapon, so this stops assault rifle or shotgun users in their tracks, and they can only get out by rolling a successful grab against you themselves. That takes their action up too. Grabbing someone is the best outright counter to bullet dodgers. They can't rely on their evasion skill to get away from someone grabbing them, so if you got a problem with someone bullet dodging, run up, get your arm around their neck, and you've got them. Now, being grappled brings with it some other neat little caveats you can do as well. The first one is the best way to get around enemies with super high armor: choking. Just use your action on who you have grappled to choke them, and you deal your body stats amount directly to their HP. It ignores armor, but doesn't damage it, and if you choke them for 3 straight rounds, they just straight up go unconscious. This is very strong against chunky enemies, but it can be used just as easily against you. Another thing you can do outright is throw your opponent. Like with choking, you deal your body stat directly to their HP, it ignores armor, and it doesn't damage it. Now, while doing this does use your own action and it breaks the grapple, it leaves your opponent prone. Unlike in other games, being prone is a bad thing in Cyberpunk Red. It doesn't give you any kind of defensive advantage, and you are unable to move until you use an action to stand. So, I opt for this over just releasing an enemy from a grapple, even though just letting them go doesn't cost you your action. One thing I'll note too before going into the martial arts stuff is what you can do with someone grappled is that you can actually use an action to turn them into a human shield, straight up converting them into mobile cover. This goes back to how someone who is a bullet dodger is limited by a grappling, because if they're being used as a human shield, they are unable to dodge ranged attacks at all. And you, as the person having them grappled, can also freely attack them too. And of course, if you're being shot at, they take the damage instead of you, and if they die, they have additional cover HP equal to their body stat. So, human shields? Pretty fun little mechanic if you can get up close to someone to set it off. Now though, to talk about martial arts, and we're going to be getting into the big reason why I left this stuff out of the first video on melee combat. The martial arts skill has special moves tied to specific forms. When you rank up in martial arts, you pick a form and put a point into it. You cannot use a form's special moves if you do not have at least 1 point in it. The different forms in the core rulebook, which is on page 178 by the way, are Aikido, Karate, Judo, and Taekwondo. So the trick with martial arts special attacks is each have their own requirement to trigger, and each of them is different. Some of these do require like 2 different successful hits to happen, like how you must hit someone with a martial arts attack and a melee weapon attack in 1 turn to trigger the armor-breaking combination in karate. Martial arts special attacks have their own unique timing. You meet the requirement, you immediately get to do the special attack. If you do not do it when it is met, you lose the chance that turn until you meet the requirement again. Using martial arts is definitely one of the more complex ways to fight in Cyberpunk Red, but it is also the strongest melee combat type. You won't find it in easy mode because it does add a bit of a complexity to combat that may be a bit much to someone just starting out. And remember, to get a rank in martial arts, it costs 2 points worth rather than 1 for skills. But yeah, that's the unique melee combat situations in a nutshell. There really isn't much more beyond that in terms of some of the crazier things that can happen in combat. From here, you should at least have the baseline stuff down. The next video though will be about net running, which, in my opinion for someone new in the game, is pretty intimidating. It isn't as bad as you think, or what people may tell you. Take care everyone, and I hope you find yourselves a good table.